Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back with another live stream of Hearthstone. Did not warm up my voice at all before starting the stream. We're starting as we typically do on the European account, since which is now the new standard. But in this instance, we're kind of in a weird position. Like, Tavern Brawl comes back in 2 days, and I have a challenger friend and this 50 that I can change and should trade for win 7 game modes. So as far as actual gameplay, win 7 game modes while I'm waiting for somebody to come online. I need somebody to come online to challenge a friend on the European account. That's just all there really is to it. And in the meantime, like, because the European account cycles at a different time, this third quest is just not there. So starting on the European account today doesn't really work. On top of that, we got the 3 packs for the Kobolds and Catacombs difficulty that was happening. Let's see, what was it? Were they giving you less chances of winning legendaries or something like that? There was no, I think it was just some downtime that they wanted to say, we're sorry for this downtime, so they said we'll give you 3 packs of Kobolds and Catacombs. But then they cheaped out on it again, which is typical Activision Blizzard, and made me decide which of my 3 accounts do I get that in. So clearly my primary American account is the one to get the accounts, but I feel like if somebody had downtime on 3 different accounts and they wanted to play those 3 different accounts, they should be rewarded with 3 separate rewards, instead of making me choose. There's an epic, so the epic might be new, but I suspect a significant amount of these cards are going into dust, even for this expansion where we really didn't even open that many packs, unless we get an epic or a legendary. Let's see. Now, I think any dust created now. Yep. So we opened 15 cards and 13 of them are going into 95 dust, which is a pathetically low amount. And then if we just click this, we can see we got this one epic and a second one of these rares. And see, I guess if we try missing as a tag, it'll be slightly interesting to see if we were to go further and craft more Kobolds and Catacombs cards, how many would need to be crafted. Seems like it's a pretty high number. And the fact that I'm seeing some uncommon cards tells me I probably would be better buying packs of Kobolds and Catacombs. At least another 50 packs would probably clear out the board as far as a lot of the epics and all of the rares. I could create this right now. Some of these things in particular make a lot of sense, but I'm still 3 years into it. We're still at this point where we're trying to get just a classic collection done. So we're saving up 400 dust for epic cards, and that's all that's left as far as classics, as epics and legendaries. I imagine what I'll want to do after I have all of the classic cards, or all the classic cards except for legendaries, is then whatever the next expansion is. Maybe it will be the expansion after Kobolds and Catacombs. I think at that point, that's when I would want to have the ambition to start collecting some of the new collections. And I feel probably all the wild sets are just going to fall by the wayside. Like, so by the time there's a next expansion, Old Gods, Gadget Sand, Unguru, Frozen Throne, and Kobolds, like, some if not all of those will probably be wild, and I'll just never get all of those. And whatever the new thing is, yeah, that'll be the one to start playing. Speaking of playing, because I can cheat this on my cell phone, just play myself, getting 5 games with Paladin and Warrior is totally doable, and winning 3 games with the Druid is totally doable, but it's not necessary because I can't trade anything out, so I will just automatically win 3 games when I get the 5 games done. So that puts us in a weird position as we're kind of waiting for people to jump on the European account to move on to the Asian account. There's not a ton of news today, and I would like to make this a shorter experience today if I can get away with it. It really just comes down to how long do I have to try it? Do I have to work to get this to work? Alright. And it must be that time where, let's see, Shaman and Warlock. Alright, I'm gonna try to make a Warlock deck then, I guess, and just play. This watch and learn. If I can friend any Japanese or Asian person, just Asian person in particular, and let them, and have them actually allow me, let's just play this Warlock deck and see how this works. We need 2 victories with it. And where we hop in here, and Warlock ranked play to get in to get up to rank 20, because we're still working on that. So, yeah, there's not a ton of news today, and I started playing Strider. I've now officially finished playing The Evil Within. I was retroactively disliked the main game of The Evil Within even more after playing the assignment and the consequences, which are the first 2 pieces of DLC and are interconnected. So you would have bought the season pass when the game was brand new, and then been kind of screwed because the assignment's not that good, and then it just kind of ends and hangs there, and then you probably would have had to wait some months to get the consequences, which continues the assignment, and it's not that good either. In fact, it's probably a lot worse because it's just more of the same. And the main thing is, having played RE4, The Evil Within being from the creative director of RE4, although after playing The Evil Within 1, I suspect heavily that it was other people that were controlling and improving RE4 to make it a good game, because left to his own devices, the creative director creates The Evil Within, which is way worse than RE4. So knowing that opinion, RE4 is a game that maybe is a horror game as you play it in the first time you've ever played the game. Maybe if you can get past all the cheesy ridiculousness. But after that first playthrough, you've got half of your weapons upgraded so powerfully that you're getting one-shot kills, and it becomes a complete and total action game. There is a certain level in which that is true. Like, you could play The Evil Within a second time, and you're given this machine gun item that seems to open the door to shooting every single zombie in the game and making an action game. But the main story's not good enough for you to want to play it a second time is the problem. And so I'm trying to cast spells. So let's go ahead and cast these spells while we're doing it. On top of that being the big problem, when you get into the DLC of the assignment, there's no shooting at all. Except for in one sequence where you're trapped under a rock and you have an infinite number of bullets and you have to shoot at enemies crawling towards you. And as soon as that sequence is done, you use up all your bullets and you technically have the gun with you for the most part of the rest of the story, but you never have any bullets for it. In the assignment. And then there's only this really kind of late game section in the consequence where you get a shotgun and you can use a shotgun, sort of. Like, the problem with the shotgun is that you then have a very limited number of bullets, and the shotgun is slow, and you're using it right at the end of the game of the consequences. I believe there might have been another section in the assignment where you use the gun to fight a boss. You fight the same boss over in the DLC over and over again. A very confusing boss that doesn't really get explained. In fact, I fully do not understand any of the story or the concept of the DLC. It just doesn't make any sense. The idea of going into a machine and then the world is created by your subconscious is fine, but then we never hear anything about the story that explains why certain things are the way they are. Like, and it just kind of has this weird sexual overtone as you're being chased by this monster that is wearing fishnet stockings and high heels, and you're playing as Kidman, who is wearing high heels throughout the whole game, which makes no sense for a police officer to ever do that. But there's nothing overtly sexual about Kidman. There's also some secrets where there's this snail that's like the logo of the game creator, and you shine a light on this snail to unlock the secret, and as you're shining the light on the snail is making sexual moaning sounds for no reason. And then the fishnet stocking monster has like a beacon lantern on their head, which you assume that would be something like the Beacon Hospital, and that this was just Ruvik in a different form or something. But like, it doesn't ever get explained that way. This monster is like in a straitjacket that opens up, and the entire monster just opens up into a giant mouth / vagina thing. Like, the monster opens up from the throat to the groin, there's giant teeth, eats Kidman. Like, I don't understand what they were even going there. It almost is open to interpretation that Ruvik was like a crossdresser or wanted to be a woman at some point, if that is supposed to be Ruvik, or it's something coming directly from Kidman but is never shown or explained in Kidman's backstory. And like nothing's explained in Kidman's backstory. Even the main story is not explained as far as I can understand in the DLC. And then the third piece of DLC I barely even gave a fair shake to. I will fully admit at that point I was just like, well, if this third piece of DLC, the Executioner, is good or not, it doesn't even matter. It's more of an arcadey mode where you have to go through an area you've already been through and take on bosses you've already fought, but this time the bosses have health bars and you're not really fighting them in a way of a pattern recognition. In all the previous sections you would have either had to pull some kind of trick to do 3 damage to them, 3 maybe 4 damage in 1 or 2 places, and in this it's just a full-on have a health bar, and you're playing as one of the bad guys in the main game, just wandering around for a reason that was probably explained in the story, but I couldn't be bothered to figure it out. You're playing as some character looking for their daughter that was somehow in Ruvik's old house, but none of it really makes sense. Like, it might have made sense if you were playing as Ruvik's father and you were looking for Ruvik's sister, but we know from the story that Ruvik killed his parents and his sister burned to death, so unless there's something crazy they're trying to say, there's so many different ways you could misinterpret or try to interpret the evil within to make it into a coherent story. But since the game itself and the writing itself doesn't even meet you halfway, it's all just fan fiction at this level. And then sadly, after I played The Evil Within, to not rant about it forever, I'm still very happy Travis gave it to me. It certainly is an experience worth criticizing. Critics get better, in my opinion, as they are able to criticize bad things more than good things. If I just walk into like a movie as a movie critic, which I'm not, but if I just walked out of that theater and said, well, that's a perfect movie, there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever, that's not very good criticizing, nor is it informative to the viewer. But then I played another game Travis gave me, which was the Jackbox Party Pack 3. It is fully and firstly important to say I made a mistake on how on what I put on my wish list. There are a few things on my wish list that just as it stands won't work as on my YouTube channel, and the Jackbox Party Packs, any group games, anything that you can't single player, are games like that. And so I made a very poor spotlight that I probably shouldn't even put out, but I'll do it anyways, where 3 out of 4 of the games I can't even play because there's nobody but me there, and they are minimum 2 or 3 players. And the way Jackbox games work is very odd. It's unique because the hosting screen, the one that I'm recording, the one that's on my computer, is really just a group screen, and the input screen is everybody's cell phones. Update players go to a website, jackbox.tv, type in a 4-character code, which is nice that the code's that short, and then they enter their answers on that website, and it just integrates through back-end servers, on top of which more people can be the audience of those things too. And it has like Twitch integration, so if I was ever to use my Twitch account, that might work. So that particularly brings me to the idea of like, what could I do to like, what could I do to get Hearthstone done quicker? Maybe I just need to abandon the European and Asian accounts and quit doing the daily quests on them. And I suppose this really comes down to just views. If I was to live stream the Jackbox Party Pack and try to get people to jump in and play with me, just fans, in the future that would probably work. Like, just here we are, first 8 people in the place, go. Like, that might work if people are interested in playing those games, but there's some inconsistency certainly there. And there's also some weirdness, like, and mostly it just comes down to getting Hearthstone done, because I certainly don't have the time to play 2 things. Yeah, so yeah, the Jackbox Party Pack 3 only had 1 game that you could play 1 player, which was really just You Don't Know Jack with a different theme on it. So I played it, showed it off, and that's kind of all I can do with it. That being said, I am thinking of different ways to use that technology, and it was on my wish list for a reason. I did want that game. It's just maybe in a small part I didn't even know what it was. Or how constrictive it was going to be. Sometimes I've been bad about looking at games and making sure there's a single player experience to them before putting them in wish lists. I typically double check everything after that. So here's the real issues. I'm not getting any victories, and I'm at rank 22, which that certainly sucks. Alright. Let's move on to some real news. Paladins announced a Battle Royale game mode named Battlegrounds. So Paladins Battlegrounds. I think this is different from the Lawbreakers Battlegrounds and the Fortnite Battlegrounds. So it's just like everything is going to be called Battlegrounds, which, I mean, it's not a terrible name. It's just going to like immediately become very ambiguous that every game is going to have like a Battlegrounds mode, and at some point people are going to, right now we're in the phase where people are going to have a game called Battlegrounds to get more sales, but eventually people will stop putting Battlegrounds in the name and they'll just have a Battlegrounds mode. The problem that's going to arise quickly is, even now with 3 or 4 different games that have 100 different players, the active player base that is typically the players you would see moving from one Call of Duty to the next Call of Duty. I feel like, let's see, destroy a demon, restore 5 health. Why can't I do this? Interesting. Doesn't say destroy a friendly demon. Yeah, I don't understand that. So yeah, I imagine eventually there will be some new Call of Duty. There will be some new game. A lot of people that would have been playing the Star Wars Battlefront are moving over to. Let's see, do 1 damage to me. Wow, it's funny that this works this way. Fortnite servers, moving on to the next bit of story, will be unstable for the next week as Epic protects against the meltdown CPU exploit. I guess maybe there's some active. Let me just add this guy as a friend since I need to get a watch and learn. I guess the idea is that there must be some active exploits out there. Otherwise, people wouldn't be so quickly patching things. Let's see. Seriously, is this not a demon? So some players will be unable to log in. I've seen some more reports that certainly is the truth, that Fortnite has been having some troubles trying to improve performance while patching that security exploit. It's very possible that Fortnite is running through virtual machines if their servers, I mean, a lot of servers run through virtual machines, and it's probably a really good reason to have dedicated servers and that are running on bare metal instead of virtual machines, which, I mean, that should have been happening for any gaming thing. If you're just running a email program or something, I could see easily overlooking or just cheaping out. But when you're running something that is latency sensitive and it's going to take a lot of CPU power, I don't know why you would have them in virtual machines. So let's say they're not in virtual machines, then there's just whatever operating system they're running the Fortnite servers on is just poorly optimized, which I have seen that too. Like some of the favorite versions of Linux, depending on which company you're working for, seem to be some of the least optimized, worst versions of Linux out there. It's not a simple and nice everything is running on Ubuntu or Debian based things. A lot of them are running SUSE and some other ones that are really crazy. Some of them, Red Hat Linux was a big one for a long time, and there was a lot of salesmanship of security and reasons why different core branches of Linux were better than the others. But I think 99.9% of it just really came down to what the manager knew when it was first established, and then it's just legacy servers. Like we've always run Red Hat Linux. We're not willing to learn anything but Red Hat Linux. So now we're hiring people that know Red Hat Linux 35 years later. You know. Companies are often so afraid of training or changing anything, training new employees or changing anything, that they'll stay with the worst garbage. That's why most computers that ran Windows in most offices for a very long time would stay with just this is Windows XP. It runs, it works fine, it's good. well past the point when that was reasonable to do, and still people are running Windows 7 just out of not wanting to change to Windows 10. Well, I'm not winning, but I'm playing cards, so we'll just keep doing this. Moving on, Star Citizen crowdfunded another $35 million in 2017. There's way too much money going into Star Citizen. I don't want to be one of those persons that says, think of all those starving children that could have been fed with that $35 million. But just think of all those starving independent video game creators that could have been fed with that. Like, the fact that Star Citizen has a slick sales pitch and an appeal is getting it too much funding, particularly when it is not really delivering. The good news is that this is slightly down from last year, but it's still really, really high. Moving on. Dragon Age's Varric just got a real-life publishing deal for his novel Hard in Hightown. Penguin Random House will be distributing the novel from July. Varric, the wisecracking dwarf from Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition, is arguably one of the best companions in any RPG. So, effectively, this is the writer who wrote this character is now writing a book from the voice of the character he wrote. So this really gets down to just a problem with the publishing industry these days, is the quality of book writing. Well, there's really never been any great gatekeeping as far as writing books. Any idiot could write a book and try and sell it. It's just now that the book publishing people are kind of desperate, and they will do everything in their power just to get more books on the shelves. Inherently, the idea is for book publishers is to sell books, oversell books to bookstores that will never be sold. Those bookstores then, an incredibly wasteful thing, say these books are not selling, and they say, fine, we'll give you a credit for the next book that comes out. They won't ever refund what the bookstores paid, but they'll say, yeah, we'll give you a credit for the next one we sell. The next one will be better. The next one will be better. It's kind of this constant passing the buck scam. It's kind of a reverse pyramid scheme, actually. Come to think of it, it's just lending out credit more and more to ensure that the publishers have high numbers, so they can fraudulently claim their books are popular. Like, inherently, from my crazy point of view, I would say people should either publish their books just online, and maybe I've been thinking about this lately. I think all artists should probably just get stipends from the government. There should just be funds. Like, get corporations out of art completely. I think it would be better. Like, if every video game creator who's an artist, let's just include them as artists because they are, were just given a budget. It's like, here's the money to make the game, And it makes a lot more sense if you're just giving all your citizens like universal basic income, and then they can feed and clothe and take care of themselves without even having to do anything. How much more is necessary to be paid to make a video game goes down by a lot. Let me see if I can rephrase that. Like, if all your basic needs are being met and you don't really need a paycheck to live off of, then you only really need a budget to make a video game, to buy software, buy equipment, and, you know, buy assets, things like that. And so for a book writer, like, all you really need to do is have a typewriter or a computer, and you can write a book. And then I would say those book writers should publish online, and then a copy would go into the digital Library of Congress, and because all books go into the Library of Congress anyways, and society is hopefully improved by that creation of that book. Get rid of the idea of having bookstores that are stocking them things. Now, certainly there are people that would want to read a book in print form. Lots of people. I think that could easily be done through just direct print, direct to mail things. The idea that somebody needs to go to a store and shop for something that they didn't know they wanted, is part of a much larger problem of a lack of budgeting and a lack of frugality that has been raised to almost religious levels in the United States. Like, literally, if there were no toy stores, if there were no bookstores, then you'd be fine. Like, if you knew you wanted to read a book, or if you knew you wanted a toy, you could order it directly from Amazon. But the ability to go somewhere and have put in some investment of your time by being in that store already puts you in a mindset to shop. And stores do everything in their power to put you into that mindset of shopping, of spending money that you had no intention of it. Car sales, like, car lots, are totally like that. It's like, they're completely designed to make you come in and look at cars that you weren't thinking about buying. I recall once I wanted to see, like, a specific car because I'd seen a specific commercial for it, and the car was on their lot, and I said I want to look at that car. And the car lot literally said, no, you don't want to look at that car, and showed me a different car. And I'm like, oh, what a waste of time. Like, you won't even sell me the thing that I was potentially thinking about buying. So yeah, just impulse purchasing in general needs to go away. And that's a far way away from where I started this conversation, because I was talking about how publishing is a scam and books are a scam. You see it way worse in comic books too. It's highly expensive comic books that are garbage in quality when you look at some of the recent Marvel and DC comic books. Just vast majority of it's garbage. Nobody would want to keep it. Nobody would want it on their bookshelf. And yet it gets printed, and yet it sits around. And so many people have, like, this nostalgic, childish desire to run a comic book store that almost every city has a handful of people that are willing to start a comic book store, try and run it, and then inevitably will just fail and go bankrupt. Like, which is true for most businesses. Like there's no sound business model out there, because there's way too many scammers out there, way too many schemes out there. Like, let's see, I need to play 40 more spells, and then, but I need to get like a victory too. I also need to just, every time I play, send friend requests. Until somebody... This has been a very consistent problem with the Asian account. Like, Asian people must just not want to friend random people as much as European and America's people do. Which, okay, that seems about right. Particularly if I'm thinking like Japanese people, they probably would not friend you. Chinese people, maybe not, because my name is not written in Chinese characters. Yeah, I'm probably getting a lot of people that are rejecting me as a friend request simply because my name is typed in English for the most part. But it's a real big problem. I have a lot of people here that, well, a lot of them I guess just are online at a different time too. Tactic Torn is the only one that friended me that I recognize that in D-Long. Like, some of these people that really are my fans and know what I'm doing won't come on the Asian account because it would be kind of crazy for them to ever come on the Asian accounts. They made a secondary Asian account just to try and help me, and then that didn't work out probably too well for anybody. It's not worth the effort. Let's play this, and this, and then the turn. Next story, Ubisoft is fixing the Jaeger's game-breaking shield glitch. Jaeger in Rainbow Six Siege. Wow, you don't even put the name of the game in the title, piece of gamer. Bad writing. Or maybe Rainbow Six Siege is just such a uninteresting title to use. I don't know exactly what the gameplay breaking glitch. Alright, see, the glitch makes it nearly impossible to kill. It makes him nearly impossible to kill. And they're rushing, Ubisoft is rushing to fix it. Moving on to the next story, Valve rescinds a major designation for the Philippines Dota 2 tournament. New government regulations have hit Galaxy Battles 2018. Let's see, let's read this more. Following recent changes in the Filipino government regulations, Valve has pulled out its support of the proposed Galaxy Battles 2018 Dota 2 major, set to run between January 15th and 21 in Ciudad de Victoria's Filipino area. So, one second, let's play and then I'll... Let's go ahead and play this too. Valve has rescinded its major designation, but it's now working to run a similar tournament with invited and qualifying teams. Based on information we've recently confirmed regarding new government regulations for esports players entering the Philippines, we've decided to rescind the tournament's major designation, including the pro circuit qualifying points for it. This is based on what we feel are unreasonable infringements on the privacy of the players as a condition to enter the country. The tournament itself may still proceed, but without any involvement of Valve or the Dota Pro circuit. Valve underscores its decision does not reflect how it feels about the Philippines itself, and apologize to anyone who planned on attending. So there's some kind of thing that Valve is not happy with, that the Filipino government is asking for some bit of information that they seem to feel like it's too crazy. According to information listed by the Republic of Philippines Games, recognized, see, a number of Reddit users have turned to speculate the Valve's a number of Reddit users in turn speculate that Valve's decision to pull support reflects the country's ongoing drug problems. I mean, that probably is a decent speculation with the Philippines, because that is what is going on in the Philippines, is that they are quote unquote having ongoing drug problems, but really what I would more classify it as they are effectively cleansing themselves and arresting / murdering. The president of the Philippines himself boasts that he actively murdered somebody who was on drugs. So I wouldn't say it's particularly ethnic cleansing, it's poverty cleansing. Anybody who may have become a drug addict is probably a poor person. Therefore, the president is telling his citizens to go out there and literally just murder them. Like, no due process, nothing like that. These are recorded things he has said. The man is frankly a lunatic. Or, you know, maybe he's not crazy, but he's certainly not good. And I could see if they were doing some kind of crazy drug testing. I would not go to the Philippines if I was invited. I would not recommend anybody else go to the Philippines. They are going to end up in a totalitarian state as best as one could be formed in such a country, in such an area, where there will just be random drug screenings, and it will almost certainly morph from, we've got to get rid of all these drug addicts. I mean, it's not even drug dealers that they're going after. They're going after the addicts, the victims of the drug trade. Whether they were willing victims at the beginning or not doesn't really matter. Eventually, anybody who's addicted to any drug becomes a victim, and should be on at least some levels pitied. And yeah, that'll probably evolve. It'll probably be communist next. You know, it's a red scare. Moving on though, so I don't get into a rant. I'm like, some of my fans said, "We love your rants," and I'm like, I don't know. I don't love my rants. I try not to get into them. It's just been 2017 and probably 2018's been a good year for outrage. Oh, this is gonna suck. Well, I can't trade, and I'm not making any victories with this. So, let's see if maybe we have a Shaman deck. Custom Shaman 2 Murloc. Let's try that. Let's see. Lab Zero's RPG Indivisible has raised more than 2.2 million in crowdfunding. It's due out this year. This is probably an advertisement from PC Gamer at this point. 2.2 million in crowdfunding to make an RPG, compared to the 32 million spent on Star Citizen this year alone. Lab Zero is the folks behind Skullgirls. It'd be slightly interesting to see a different thing. Oh yeah, I remember this game. I think Giant Bomb did a unfinished on it. Like 4-character RPG. Each character I think is controlled by a button. And each character seems to have a slightly different style of attack. And when you're not RPG fighting, turn-based fighting, you have like an axe to climb. Yeah, alright. This is probably an advertisement, but Indivisible is still a game that has caught my eye in the past, and I'm still looking for it. So maybe there'll be a Steam website, like a Steam link to it. There's a game called The Messenger, which is a Ninja Gaiden inspired platformer with a 16-bit twist. Oh, are we going to 16-bit games now? No longer are we going to call everything 8-bit. Like, I'm playing Strider right now, and I never played any of the original Striders, but Ninja Gaiden, I think, was an inspiration of Strider. Like, Strider, I think, came first, and then Ninja Gaiden came out. And so I'm playing the 2014 reboot of Strider. And man, playing it on easy was a mistake. I've only played it for 30 minutes, and I'm already thinking to myself, yeah, I should have played on normal. Usually I don't have that experience. Usually it's the exact opposite. So I just watched the trailer, and yeah, The Messenger looks alright. I don't see particularly what changes it from calling itself an 8-bit to a 16-bit game. It's hard to tell much of a difference. Moving on, not really a video game, but Intel announced its new tiny next unit of computing, the NUC NUC. It has a Core CPU and a Vega GPU all on one die, basically, which is supposed to give it a lot faster communication between the Intel CPU and the AMD graphics processor, and help move forward what laptops and mobile devices might be able to do. There's a lot of connections. I think you can plug like 8 different monitors up to it. There's all kinds of plugs in back, 2 Ethernet plugs, 4 blue USB 3.0 things, and 1 yellow super speed thing that I don't even know what that is. Like what the yellow super speed USB would mean. There's an audio port on the front and back. It's a rather nice looking box. HDMI. I think there might be some Thunderbolt connectors, which I don't know about that really, but there's a memory card reader on it, an SD memory card reader. It takes a lot of power, and it has a cooler on it. And let's see, the video core, the high-end unit, there's 2 units being made, is a Core i7-8809G quad-core processor running at 2.1 gigahertz to 4.2 gigahertz, alongside an AMD Radeon RX Vega MGH running from 1063 megahertz to 1190 megahertz. And it all looks nice, it all looks sleek, it's very compact. But unfortunately, the cheaper model is $500 and the most expensive model is $1,000. And it's just way overpriced. It's not out yet, so I suppose there's room for improvement on the price. But it really is going to have to get down to the 500 price point pretty quickly to even start to compete. Like, I kind of wish somebody would go the other direction. Instead of making things smaller and sleeker, how about you make a PC that is super powerful but it's twice as big as a full ATX case? Like, I would be willing to take that trade. Like, if space is the only factor, which it isn't, but I would certainly think of that and go, yeah, that would be a better deal for me. I don't need my PCs to be smaller. I need them to be quieter since I'm recording, which is a YouTuber problem more than anybody else's. And I need them to be relatively cheap, and I need them to be full of a lot of storage space. So larger hard drives have a tendency to be the cheaper ones. Yep, it's a shame. The Nook looks good. By the way, it is also worth pointing out that the $1,000 price and a $500 price does not include any memory, so you're going to either have to plug up a USB hard drive or put in an M2 SSD drive. There's two M2 slots in it inside for hard drives. It also doesn't include any memory in the form of RAM, so you're going to have to put some SODIMM style DDR. Let's see. Both models support 32 gigabytes of dual channel DDR4 2400 SODIMM memory. So you're not even getting out for $1,000. You're really going to be paying a lot more. Finally got a victory. Let's see if we can add this guy as our friend while we're playing. 500 at the most, and I would only have said that the Nook could go up to 500 because the Xbox One X and other similar consoles have gotten up to $500. In all realisticness, I want to see a small next unit of computing that kind of looks like a console thing to come down to that 300 250 console price point. Not probably too much to say about this, but it seems the Switch has been cracked wide open, and the retro players emulator people are making progress now on running NES games and Super NES games through emulators on the Nintendo Switch. Now, as a piece of hardware, the Switch is fine, I suppose. It just kind of runs into a weird point where you're going to have to use either the Switch Joy-Cons, which I wouldn't want to use, or you're going to have to struggle to connect it to something like an 8-bit Nintendo Bluetooth controller, which you can do that, I suppose. So I'm watching a video right now of someone who is playing a Super NES on the Switch. I'm not sure about the battery time really on the Switch when you start running unoptimized code on it. Like, what's the point of having a portable console if it's going to have to constantly be charging, or even worse, drains even as it is charging, which some devices have done that. Also right now, because the Switch is a 16:9 resolution or something like that, like playing a Super NES at a 4:3 resolution runs into more problems of a major amount of the screen just not being used for anything. Let's see, how much money has this video that's gotten 2,500 590. Probably none. Oh, I guess my plugin doesn't tell me the estimated revenue. Interesting. Well, let's see if there's any new Humble Bundle. We're already to that point. Like, so, yeah, there's no new Humble Bundle. Staff picks are still here. Let's see. Maybe I should reload this page because that seems odd. No, the average is still $5.96 to unlock Origami, Beholder, and Bioshock Infinite. Which I would have thought the average would have been a lot higher by now. Because typically that's how it goes, is that there is an increase on the average price. Let's go back to Twitch, Twitter. Yeah. Here's a new article. I started a little early today, too. I know. Oh yes, there was this fan-made Overwatch map that it looks like they're going to license or purchase from the person or hire the person in some way. Like, ideally, like, if somebody made a level map and they should license it, regardless of whether or not, well, if you're making an entire level, that's such a transformative work. I think licensing back something that was a fan project based on your previous work still is a valid way of doing things. We'll see what really happens, or very possibly we'll never see. Like, they'll probably lowball the offer. Let's see. The only thing that really was said is somebody says we'll be in touch soon on their Twitter, which could have just been a joke, in all honesty. Yeah, it was Blizzard's Jeff Kaplan tweeted, "We'll be in touch soon." It's called the Cairo map, made in Unreal Engine 4. The Cairo map, Overwatch inspired, is what the YouTube videos called. Alright. And see, I don't know how much of this was actually created by the fan or not. Like, this could just be the assemblance of many other assets that may or may not have been properly licensed in the first place. I hate to be a naysayer, but like Blizzard might get in touch with this guy and find out that yes, he copied and pasted a lot of assets and 3D things, and he did a massive amount of transformative work in that action, but I don't know, that gets into a weird gray area. It's like, if I collage all of the assets on like the Unreal App Store, and I pirated all of those things, so I didn't actually pay for a license for those assets in the first place, can I come back and say, well, I did this in such a way that it's actually fair use? And I don't think that would stand up in court. I think inherently not paying for the assets in the first place probably puts you in such a bad legal position that any claim of fair use would not be recognized. Yeah, this is a rather nice area. It's kind of weird they have such nice looking maps for a game like Overwatch, where like you're going to be running around and not seeing those things for almost all of the time. There's also this kind of weird just thing, like the world of Overwatch is gonna, they try to keep it into some kind of consistent thing. Recruit friends. Let's see. Yeah, we already have that link out there. Fireside gathering, can't do that either. Let's see, it was created by fine art students and 3D artist Joshua Llorente. It was built using Unreal Engine 4 and Maya over the course of 2 months, and is one of several maps designed by Llorente with others, and is viewable on his portfolio page themed around Shangri-La and Nepal Village. So if he's doing these as a art student, I would imagine he's probably not using too many pre-bought assets, just to avoid getting failed in his classes for plagiarism, basically. But he certainly seems like he is on the ball as far as his skills in Maya 3D rendering buildings. So I would say Blizzard is going to try and hire him up at a cheap price as a in college, out of college artist, and they'll just try to keep him on their team without giving him too many raises. Which isn't inherently nefarious. Sniper Elite developer apparently has rescued the troubled Oliver Twins studio. Rebellion, the British studio behind Sniper Elite, Battlezone, and Strange Brigade, has swooped in to save a fellow UK outfit called Radiant Worlds. All 70 Radiant Worlds employees have been saved, including the studio's founders and industry veterans Philip and Andrew Oliver, of Dizzy fame. Oh, Dizzy, wow. That, talk about a really, really old game. Dizzy is like a egg character, and you can kind of tell how old the game is just by from the fact that you're playing as an egg. Wasn't Radiant Worlds when wasn't it a subsidiary of some other company that they were saying they were shutting down? Let's see. Radiant Worlds' future was plunged in uncertainty when its long in development Minecraft-like game Sky Saga Infinite Isles was cancelled. Let's see. Korean publisher Smilegate pulled the plug on Sky Saga after 4 years of development. Oliver Twins said it came as a total shock. Our last visit, our LAN visited the studio all the way back. I don't even know what that means, our LAN, unless that's our Ian, which... So yeah, this British company has saved these programmers. Let's just hope that maybe these programmers can have some better leadership and better development under the Sniper Elite company rebellion, because frankly, if people are in 4 years into development and they're not close enough for the game to come out, that instead it just gets canceled after 4 years in development, that means somebody somewhere was not doing a good job. And just keeping people employed when they're bad at their jobs in the long run doesn't help anybody. Let's see. This. And we'll freeze this guy. Let's see. There's a twin stick shooter called Beacon, where the title is Science is Messy and Cloning's Unlimited in this twin stick shooter. And the first image I see of them, everybody is in a yellow, black, white, and with maybe a little bit of red outfits. And let's watch this video and see it. Oh, I also wanted to point out that the classic hacking simulator called Uplink apparently has updated their visuals, and now it is much more... It's slightly more playable now. It's not just all typing. There's some more drag and drop. There's some more icons. Which there was a cell phone version of some kind of uplink clone that I played that frankly was a lot better at that. Just having some drag and drop functions and more mouse support. So I'm looking at Beacon, and there's the trailer. Somebody's walking out of a cloning bay, which, okay, that's just a respawn point like any other game, but it seems like the cloning goes crazy and sometimes changes people into monsters or something else. And then they're fighting like polygon-ish robots. Let's see if this is enough. Part of the thing with this trailer, of course, is going to come down to the fact that it's a top-down two analog stick twin joystick shooter, and that means it's going to be kind of fast and frantic, and you're going to be far away from the characters, and you don't need that much graphics. Now that I'm starting to see the gameplay, yeah, there's some explanation on the graphics not being that good. However, even that being said, you can still clearly see that the enemy robots are just these polygons, robot things. Or here's some kind of rat-like creatures that you also fight. Wow, only one more victory needed. And we've still got this watch and learn, but we got the other two things done. But I want to see if I can do this and get the watch and learn done. Yeah, there's really nothing here on Beacon that looks interesting. Like, while there's some concept art and that might catch your attention, the actual gameplay looks average or below average. And see, at this point I would need to get into a rant just to have more things to do and talk about. See, Plague Inc. just put out a 12-month report card of 2017 to 2018. We could look at that. There's a mod for Skyrim called Lordbound that's a huge expansion size mod according to PC Gamer. And that's kind of all I have to say. Let's read this. Like, what will the report card really say? It's Mutation 815, the Mad Cow Disease mutation. The board game. Yeah, let's see. What are their plans for 2018? A third production run of the board game. We're working on Plague Inc. and have already got the next major update in progress with all new content. With more all new content. Endemic is hiring. Mega top secret other stuff. Sorry, we can't reveal more of it right now. As much as I love Plague Inc., I would be fine with them being deep into development of a new game. It doesn't have to be in any way similar to their current game, and probably is better if it isn't. Them just constantly adding updates gets into the Binding of Isaac fallacy of just like eventually you have to kill your babies. It's a creepy phrase, but it's true in the artist world. You eventually have to say it's done. There's a quote I think from Leonardo da Vinci that says, "An artist is never truly done. They are simply forced to stop working on it," or something along that lines. And that's pretty much the case. Is you've got to eventually just force yourself to stop working on something and work on something different. If you ever get back to a Plague Inc. 2, it would be a better game than just constantly adding to Plague Inc. 1. That's rather true for the creators of Uplink. Like, the creators of Uplink went on to make Darwinia, and I believe they make the Escapist games, and I believe they made Scanner Sombre. I could be mixing a few companies up there, but I know the creators of Uplink went on to make other games, and so now they're coming back and they're making a patch to Uplink to make it more palatable as a game. And I imagine some of the old school players are going to be upset with the changes, but I imagine you can just change it back through some settings. Sadly though, there is nothing else to talk about. So we are going to just go to the post-game show after this. Like, right now we're spectating somebody with our fingers crossed that he'll get a victory. We've got some probably higher level play than what I could accomplish with my Asian deck going on here, even though they're both at rank 20. Kriperian talked about how they made a change to the arena. They didn't really announce it, but they made a change that seems to have improved the gameplay in the arena. That's got me a little tempted to play an arena run, but where do I find the time? Like, particularly in this instance, nobody's on the chat. We haven't even hit 4 o'clock when I normally would have streamed, so maybe I just failed here. Maybe I should have not streamed until 4 o'clock, and maybe I should have instead just recorded some pre-recorded content, which ideally that's what I want to do. Is I want to do some pre-recorded content either before or after streaming Hearthstone every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't get a lot of that done. Some days I don't get any of it done. It depends on how many hours are spent doing the offline gameplay stuff. And despite the fact that CES is happening, there really is nothing gonna happen in the news. I saw an article that there are allegations that the Nintendo shortage and the Nintendo game shortage is all Nintendo's fault, that Nintendo sells the cartridges at a pretty high price from what I hear to put games on, and they seem to be short on the memory cartridges, with that proprietary memory cartridges. If I was Nintendo, I would, just for open standard's sake, I would have everything be on micro SD cards. It's gonna save you money in hardware development. And the thing is, for a kid, probably even for a kid these days, they're not going to realize that you could probably just solder wires to a Nintendo cartridge and then plug that into a properly programmed device to read that. So like any crazy thing you try to do, a kid would probably not realize the difference. So it's just as effective to format a micro SD card in some encrypted volume format and make the people that were trying to crack that game and steal the ROM off of it decrypt it, as it is to put it in a proprietary hardware format. Now, in retrospect, as an adult who's got a more than a passing interest in electronics, looking back on an NES cartridge, I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been easy. At least I know how to begin to go down that route, and say, yeah, this would, each one of these wires, each one of these tabs that the kids are blowing on, connects to either a data line or a power line or a clock line, and that would have been something I probably still couldn't copy a NES cartridge by myself starting from scratch, but I could certainly find the people who could. And it would be just as easy for me to find somebody that could copy a Nintendo Switch cartridge as it would be to find somebody that could copy somebody or some device that could copy a NES thing. When we went to CDs, as far as security on games, darn it, you went offline. Well, I guess I don't have to get this watch and learn really done, do I? So let's switch over to the European account. So yeah, it would be a lot nicer if the Switch, and I think we might very well see a Switch 1.2 or 1.5 come out where it does have just 2, 3, maybe even 4 micro SD card readers. Suppose I need to get 7 victories or challenge a friend. Let's see. Oh man. So we're in a weird position, aren't we? Well, this is going to be interesting. I need to do a challenge a friend, and then on the Americas account, that's just going to be play myself stuff, and nobody's on the chat. And so this is going to be the end of the talking part. But also, we're going to do a lot of like European watching of people. I'm just going to watch them. In fact, I'll probably message them and see if I'll probably see if I can get somebody to challenge me. Like this, just 5 games, Paladin and Warrior. It's gonna take some time, but not that long. So maybe this won't be too long of a stream anyways. Oh yeah. It's just been a weird combination of errors today. Watch and learn I can't get done. A challenge a friend I can't get done, and then the usual combination of bad daily challenges. Exhausted sigh. Three people online. Alright, well, then that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.
Raptors!
For the wild. My hand is full.
Special! Strong and shiny!
Beetle berries, my favorite.
Get back, you scary dog!
For the wild. Job done.
Shiny here, shiny there! Hey, big shiny!
The scourge will devour all. Power incarnate! For the wilds. Well played. My thanks to you. What now?
protect the wild.
Victory or death!
Job's done.
X marks the spot. Die, Undercover. Die, Landlubber.
Job's done.
Blood and plunder!
Die, Landlubber.
Job's done.
Blood and plunder!
Die, Landlubber.
No water! Garrosh versus Malfurion.
I must protect the wild.
Victory or death!
must protect the wild.
Victory or death!
Job's done.
X marks the spot. Thailand lover.
I sail the
Thailand
slimy
lover.
deeps.
Thailand lover.
The plague.
Ruptar
Garrosh versus Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be mine! Victory or death! possibilities. Let the hunt begin. Victory or death!
X marks the spot.
Astounding!
Job's done. Job's done.
Garrosh versus Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be mine! Victory or death!
Job's done.
The light dims, but we fight.
X marks the spot.
Job's done.
Put this apple on your head. Die, landlubber.
Job's done.
Put this apple on your head. Mind if I roll need?
My shield for Argus!
Job's done.
Let me think.
Let the pain speak to me.
Mind if I roll need?
I must move quickly.
shall bring victory.
Victory or death! The legions I command.
Is someone injured?
X marks the spot.
Job done. Job
begin.